part 2 of completing the square. Let's review our steps. Step 1 is isolate C. Step 2, add b divided by 2 squared to both sides. Step 3, take the square root of both sides. Step 4, solve. Now, we're going to do different levels. So I've noticed you guys like levels. So we're going to start off with level 1 problems on this card. Level 1. Let's go ahead and turn that into text. No, I don't want all of that done, so let's know. So we're going to leave it the way it is. Level 1. Suppose you have x squared equals 9. Well, that is not right. Equals 9. The isolated, C is isolated by itself. That means a constant. C is the constant 9. There is no linear term, so 2 is done. And so now I'm at step 3. Take the square root. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. X squared equals the square root of 9, which gives me x equals plus or minus 3. Okay, just did that step. We're at step 4, which is solve. So I have x equals minus 3 and x equals positive 3. So to solve, you guys should remember this from the last lesson. All I do is make this side equal 0. So add 3. I get x plus 3 equals 0. Well, it's already solved. We're just putting it in factored form. Subtract 3. Subtract 3. X minus 3 equals 0. My factored form is x plus 3, x minus 3. This is my solution. Let me write on this side. This is my solution. This is step 4 right here. This is my factored form. And if you solved your factored form, it would bring you right back to my solution, right? We're good with that, right? Good. All right, let's do one more of these simple ones. Let's say if I have x squared equals 25. So step 1 says to do what? I already have my constant isolated. There is no linear term. So x squared and 25, I have to take the square root of both sides. So I take the square root, take the square root. I'm left with x equals plus or minus 5, which gives me x equals negative 5 and x equals 5. This is my solution. I can check it by taking it to factored form. So, but that's what I want on level 1 cards, okay? Square, completing the square and level 1 cards. I'm going to pause, let you finish writing that, and then come back for your third index card. All right, this is a level 2, more of a level 1B. I'm going to call this level 2, but it's more like a level 1B. It just makes things easier to keep you guys just going with integers. But it's the same process you would do with the first step. So let's say we have x minus 3 squared equals 16. Yes, we see constants on both sides. This is true. But the thing about it is that this constant is inside of something, whereas this constant is isolated. So since we have that, all we have to do is take the square root of both sides, because both sides are perfect squares. They're squares. So when I do that, I have x minus 3 squared and 16. I take the square root of x minus 3 squared. Square root and a square is 1, which leaves me with x minus 3, which equals plus or minus 4, because that's the square root of 16. So now my equations are a little bit more difficult because I have x minus 3 equals negative 4 and x minus 3 equals positive 4. So again, I need to solve for x, so I'm going to add to get 0. Since these are like terms, that gives me negative 1. So x equals negative 1. And then on this side, again, I'm going to add to get 0. Add 3 to both sides. That gives me 0. So I now have x equals 7. So there's my solution, my solutions. Now you should be able to take it to factored form by using your steps. That becomes x plus 1 equals 0, right? Because we added 1 to both sides. And this becomes x minus 7 equals 0 because we subtracted 7 from both sides, right? So factored form would be x plus 1 times x minus 7. That's factored form. Okay, let's do another one. What if I have x plus 2 squared equals 25? I already see that both sides are in the perfect square or in the squared position, so all I need to do is take the square root of both sides. So I'm going to rewrite it. X plus 2 squared equals 25, so I don't mess up my original problem. Then I have the square root of both sides, and the square root of a square simplifies to 1, so that gives me x plus 2 equals plus or minus 5. Now I have x plus 2 equals negative 5 and x plus 2 equals 5. Now to solve, I need to add to get 0, so I'm adding negative 2 to both sides. That gives me 0. That gives me x equals negative 7. And add to get 0, that gives me 3. X equals 3. And there's my solutions. I can write my solutions as x equals negative 7 comma 3. You can go ahead and practice and get that to factored form. Okay? Solution to practice. Solution. Let me rewrite that. Boom. Solution to factored form in your notes. All right? That's the end of card 2. I'm coming, pause, make sure you have everything and you understand before you move to card 3. All right, welcome back. So we're on card 3. Card 3 of completing the square. Completing the square, all right? So suppose you have x squared minus 2x minus 8 equal 0. Now we are at level 1, starting with level 1 because the constant is not isolated. So I need to isolate the constant. So I need to add to get 0 from negative 8. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. When I add 8 to both sides, this gives me 0. I am left with x squared minus 2x equals 8. I'm leaving this space on purpose. This space right here, leave it. Leave it there. If you need to draw that rectangle to know that that space needs to be there, then do that. All right? Then it says, so we just did level 1. Level 2 says b divided by 2 squared. So b is actually equal to what? 2. So since b is 2, or negative 2, well, we're just going to go with 2. Since b is negative 2, I believe we just use the absolute value of b. b is 2. We're going to divide that by 2, and then we're going to square that, right? And then we add that to both sides. So that then becomes x squared minus 2x plus 2 divided by 2 squared equals 8. Let's put that 8 back in its regular color so we know what we added, all right? So put that 8 back in blue so we know what we did at this step. We're going to add 2 divided by 2 squared to that side. And when we get that, we now know that this is the same as x minus 2 over 2 squared, right? Equals 2 over 2 squared is what? 1. So 9. We're going to go ahead and simplify on this side. X minus 1 squared. Notice the minus sign came from there. Minus 1 squared equals 9. Now we're at the step where we take the square root of both sides. So we take the square root of x minus 1 squared equals the square root of 9, which gives us x minus 1 equals plus or minus 3. We then go x minus 1 equals negative 3, and x minus, let's put some space right there because you know some of y'all will think, anyways, x minus 1 equals positive 3, and we solve. That gives us add to get 0 plus 1, so x equals negative 2, add to get 0. That gives us x equals 4. We would write our solution as x equals negative 2 comma 4. You can change that to factored form. All right? So with that being said, let's try one more on this level 3 card. This is a level 3. So you can understand your critical